I have to ask, first of all, did you do The Mandalorian specifically to get an action figure of yourself made?
There might have been some subconscious part of me that was doing that. Certainly thrilled at the prospect of that. Um, I've seen some kit bashed figures, and then a friend of mine who is a sculptor and does stuff for different companies like Gentle Giant and stuff made a little mini bust of my character that I have. So yeah,
I had to know if there's ulterior motives.
yes.
Okay, Van Helsing, you as Abraham were fantastic in this.
Oh,
And
thank you.
my the entire concept of it just blew my mind. I kept digging more and more into my head about the story. And I was curious because I talked to Natasha earlier. She said that you both worked together on a history for him, and I was curious what you built there and if it's anywhere close to what I'm imagining, which is sort of a mix of Jack the Ripper and Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, well, we did talk about that. I mean, there's the backstory that we're aware of from the previous book, right? And Joe Hill's this we've seen many different iterations of Van Helsing. This one in particular, um, Natasha gave me all the the real estate that I needed to do my interpretation, and I felt like this. We find him. This is a lot of time has passed, and you find him at a different point in his life, or so you think. But we didn't have any of the typical things that you have in this genre of film. There's not a bunch of fangs, and he's not running around with a bag of steaks and garlic and things. So our sort of approach was more to have him, he's a physician, and so we really wanted to sort of lean into that. And I and also the idea this is a man who practices stoicism and but is also deeply religious, um, but is kind of, the question really becomes is that which we think as the audience really occurring, or is this a man who has seen too much, right? Call it PTSD or whatever you want, but is this a descent into madness and paranoia? And um and because of the nature of the framework which Natasha and Joe Hill have created in the story, I felt that it was, and I knew the tone of the film, that we were not making a vampire movie,
Right.
that this is really an art film. It's not a genre specific kind of film. I think in that way it's kind of a Western, but it's sort of, if I was going to retitle it, I'd call it Night of Terror, Day of Weird, right? Because it's actually, it visually it contradicts itself, and um which is what makes it compelling. um but I wanted Abraham to be very still um and unflappable. You don't really, he's a very linear character in that way. All the other stuff that's happening around is, and there's not a ton of exposition that says this is what you should feel, this is what you should be anticipating. And that I attribute all that to, the discussions that Natasha and I had, and what in real time, what we found. And there were a lot of sort of moments and things where I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to try this. I think this," and she's just phenomenal.
Oh, he's great.
She's a
Well,
brilliant artist.
there was so many levels to it, and I really appreciated the aspects that were there that I could fill in with my own head, like the thoughts of, okay, well, you why would he marry Mina? Like what would cause it, because he seems like such not I don't want to say a bachelor type, but somebody that wouldn't want that. And then I guess you build this history in your head with it, and it's so well done. So again, thank you so much for making a different take on a character like this.
Well, thank you. And I look, that's all. That's that blame falls squarely on Joe Hill and Natasha. But the material was rich, the character and the actors, the boys were marvelous. Brady and Judah and Jocelyn, was great. So it was pure pleasure. A run and gun film, very, very, a tough shoot, 115 degrees in the shade in the middle of Simi Valley in July, and yet it's all there on the screen. But I'm extremely proud of this film, and I did. This is the springboard for Natasha, in a very, very big way, and that thrills me because I want to make lots more films with her because she's really inordinately gifted artist.
It was just beautifully shot too. Everything just looks so good. Well, again, thank you so much, Titus. Thank you for you keep showing up at everything I watch. So keep doing
Well,
that.
I appreciate the support and thank you. It's very nice to meet you.
Thanks.